This is ZNS Storm Watch Update, brought to you by BTC.
You are looking live outside the ZNS studios as Hurricane Sandy bears down on the Bahamas. Winds have started to pick up and the rain is picking up as well. Good afternoon, I'm Andrew Knowles. We head right over to Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean for the latest on the storm. Basil?
Well, Andrew, that is what you can expect from here moving forward as Sandy is now pulling away from Exuma and Long Island, taking aim now for Cat Island, Roomkey, and Eleuthera as well. And in so doing, will pass as close as it can to New Providence. Hence, the winds will be picking up, the rains will be picking up over the next several hours. And we can just put this satellite picture in motion. Again, you can see those feeder band wrapping around the center of Sandy. And all of that is continuing to push towards the north, so conditions will be going downhill. So we're asking residents in those islands that are going to be impacted very shortly to remain indoors until conditions subside. And
Basil, if you could just talk about what type of conditions those residents will be experiencing.
Well, Sandy is still holding at 105 miles per hour in New Providence. We can expect winds around 40 knots, maybe up to 50, but in islands like Roomkey, Cat Island, and particularly South Cat Island, and eventually Eleuthera, they could get some very strong winds up to hurricane force, maybe up to 70 miles per hour. So that is the kind of winds they can expect, and the rains will continue for the next day or so. So flooding is definitely going to be a major problem for all of these islands. But in terms of the winds, as we said, they're going to be tropical storm force winds for here in the capital, hurricane force winds for the islands of Cat Island, Eleuthera, and Roomkey. And we had some reports coming out of Cat Island already that some of the utility poles are already starting to give way. And so that is, if that gives you any kind of indication, it tells you what kind of conditions you will experience over the next several hours. So simply remain indoors until conditions subside.
All right, thank you very much, Basil. Grand Bahama has started to feel some of the outer bands of the storm. Megan Shepard joins us live from Freeport with the latest from the country's second city. Megan?
Well, as Hurricane Sandy made her way over the southern Bahamas, residents in East Grand Bahama seemed very calm in the face of the approaching storm. In McLeanstown, Pastor Edwin Pinder was busy boarding up his church and says he was making his way to Freeport to ride out the hurricane, but not before checking on his congregation. Another resident says he woke up early this morning to secure his home. He says he has his hurricane supplies on hand and will be staying in East End during Hurricane Sandy's passing. Now in Freetown, Abram Cooper was busy helping out a relative whose roof was in need of quick repairs before Hurricane Sandy brought in the heavy rains.
My members have checked some of them, and I think they're doing the same thing, buttoning up their homes and trying to secure it. And I think some of them are leaving and some will not be leaving.
I don't normally evacuate. I says take care of the house, make sure that everything's secure, and if anyone else who will help, assisting in the community, I be around to help.
We just covering the roof, because some of the paper blow up so it wouldn't be leaking inside, because the house already finished inside.
Now for those residents in East End who wish to evacuate, there was a bus picking up residents beginning at 9 a.m. Maurice Moore Primary School is the designated shelter for the Eastern District. Now around 10:45 this morning, Assistant Administrator for the area, Sherrick Ellis, reported that no one had showed up to the shelter, but they are fully prepared for residents from Sweetings Key, Pelican Point, McLeanstown, and all other Eastern districts.
I don't know how many persons we are expecting, but we are prepared for at least up to 160 persons. We have about 16 classrooms that are available. They'll bring their personal effects, food, social service has shelter management here. But other than that, everybody is providing their own goods.
Ellis says they're prepared to house residents for about 2 days or until they get the all clear from NEMA. Back to you.
Thanks, Megan. Signs of an impending hurricane were apparent at a number of places here in New Providence today as Hurricane Sandy swirls toward the northwest Bahamas. Our Charisma Robinson visited a few key places today to get an idea of how last-minute residents are preparing for impact. that story. Meantime, BTC continuing to closely monitor those islands that are experiencing some outages. BTC Senior Manager of Public Relations Jerome Sawyer provides us with this update.
The good news at this point, of course, we are still in the early stages of this storm in terms of its movement. But at this point, there are no major outages to report. We have reports of some outages in Long Island. That is due primarily to a commercial power outage on the island. We also have reports of some outages in Abaco, again related to commercial power outages. Same thing in Acklands, and more recently we understand that all landlines are down in Rum Key. And to sort of give you an idea of how the storm affects our services, when there's a commercial power outage or the electricity goes out, it affects sort of the services in that area. Now, in many instances, we do have generators and backup battery power. So we're able to keep the network operational, particularly for our cell sites. I mean, that is the key area for us in terms of power usage most times. So once the electricity goes out, then of course we have to look at how long our backup supply can run. But for the most part, our infrastructure is still in place.
Now, once the storm has passed, initial assessments will begin on the Family Islands, and depending on the extent of the damage, larger assessment teams will be dispatched to the affected islands. Well, during the storm, you would expect a lot of lumber sales, but when we went out, that was not the case. Sales have seemingly been very slow as the hurricane started to impact the Bahamas. And even though we expected to find a number of residents purchasing last-minute items to secure their homes, that was not the case.
Be it Christmas, hurricane, whatever, last minute. All right, so the people didn't see any threat to the extent, so they didn't move to the extent. And it's not just with us. You'll find it to be across the board.
Is that a problem, or should we really not take these things lightly?
It's not so much a problem. I would say it's a discretionary move. It's not so much a problem. Now, the way how it turns out, it can go any way, but let's trust that the people is right.
Well, scores lined up at gas stations and bakeries across the capital today. Our Charles Fisher has that story.
We're here at Montrose on Wolf Road, where the Esso service station is quite busy. We're joined by the owner, George Cartwright. And George, what quite a morning here for you guys this morning.
There's a little bit of excitement.
Long lines, you guys look like you're ready for this.
Yeah, we prepared for it.
Look like a lot of last-minute people trying to fill up. You have enough gas to service?
Yes, I do. I got a tanker this morning.
How long do you intend to be open?
Well, that's a call that the head office will make. I assume that under their normal protocol is usually about midday or shortly after, we'll probably be shutting down all the stations.
Hazardous to be working under conditions like this, right?
Yeah, it's just give you a little bit more strain and stress, but we're prepared for it. The staff is ready to go, and they've been through it before.
A lot of impatience also during this time. Your staff got to deal with impatient drivers, back and forth like that.
Well, that's the main problem. Is the public is very impatient, and everybody wants fuel. And all they have to do is just wait their turn. They will get fuel. We're not going to run out of fuel. And we are prepared for it.
Okay. That is George Cartwright here at Montrose and Wolf Road Esso service station, where you heard it. They're going to have fuel until it all runs out. The approach of Hurricane Sandy here at Go Slow Bend was surely making the waves dance in the breeze. Over at 3S Bakery, things weren't slow at all.
Normally around hurricane time and when it rains, for some reason a lot of people, they like to stock up on bread because it's already cooked. And they can all they have to do is break it off and eat it. So it's around this time, it's usually crazy around here, and we have a lot of customers.
Think you can have enough to supply, or you have to wait extra hours until?
Well, we're trying. Our staff have been here all night, and we're trying to produce the amount of bread to supply the public. But it's challenging, but it's worth it.
You also have those customers out there that you all serve on a regular basis. You have to get them out of the way first.
Yes, we do. We have customers, other suppliers that we have to supply, and it's very challenging, because when the general public, they see us giving bread to certain individuals, they think that we're curry favoring, but it's not that. These are people who support us on a daily basis, and it's our job and it's our duty to ensure that they're taken care of.
One final question: how late are you going to be open?
I'd say probably 3, 4 o'clock. and we'll bake off. We'll see how much we can bake off, how much we can produce.
This has been Storm Watch on the ZNS News Network. Be sure and join us back here at 6 with all the latest. Again, ZNS will be providing hourly coverage on Hurricane Sandy, so be sure and stay tuned for all of the latest. Once again, I'm Andrew Knowles. Good afternoon.